Hello everyone, welcome to another session, Microsoft Reactor. We are going to talk about a super cool topic today, OpenAI and Power Automate. I am super happy to be with Srovani today. Hi Srovani, how are you?
Hey Bruno, I'm good. How are you?
Fine, fine. And before we do the intros, let me show you what we are going to talk today very quickly because we have a lot of content to share. A lot of Power Automate, that for sure. We are going to talk about a lot of OpenAI, models, API, GPT, ChatGPT, and more, and then how we put all together, how we have all of these amazing features inside the tool in Power Automate, and also how we can use this to create our own solution. Talking about a couple of use cases here and there. So before we start, super quick, please take a second, read our code of conduct. It's basically common sense. We try to have a good time learning all together. So please be respectful, please be friendly and patient. And remember, we are going to see all of you talking from all around the globe. This is a Reactor network. And hey, I am really, really looking forward to learn more. That's why Srovani is here, because we are going to do a quick intro for people who doesn't know about the Power Automate. So, Srovani, do you want to intro yourself and help us understand, help us get started with the Power Platform?
Of course, I'm very excited to be here. I see a lot of people from across the world. So, hello to everyone. My name is Shravani Sethi, and I'm based in Toronto, in Canada. It is very cold still, but we're here. So I'm a cloud solution architect in low code. I specialize in Power Platform at Microsoft, and I'm part of a customer success team, which I work with customers directly and help them adopt the platform. So that's about me, but let's learn about Power Automate today. So if you haven't seen these tools before in Power Platform, this is a combined view of everything that's in Power Platform. There's the famous one that's Power Apps, which is used for your web application development. Our main star for for today, that's Power Automate for your workflow automations. We have Power BI, that's our oldest standing tool for building analytics, and Power Virtual Agents for chatbots, and our latest pillar there, Power Pages for website development. And under these 5 tools, you'll also see connectors. We're going to talk a lot about connectors today as well. These are sort of your pre-built system integrations and what makes Power Platform really low code and no code, because all these integrations to different systems are built already. Dataverse is the database for Power Platform. PowerFX is the language that's used for building your applications. And this is a very Excel-based language, so easy for picking up very fast. And the AI Builder is also available for extending your Power Apps and Power Automate solutions. Bruno, if you can go to the next slide, we'll talk mainly about Power Automate today. This is, again, as I said, it's your tool for building workflow automations. It's my favorite tool out of all 5 in Power Platform. Not to have favorites, but it is my favorite just because it's so powerful. For those of you familiar with Azure tools, this is based on Logic Apps and it's built on top of it. So very powerful tool. Again, integrates very well with all of your Power Platform tools and beyond as well. And next slide, please, Bruno. So just an overview, you might be familiar with the tool, but if you're not, just on a very high level, there's 3 types of Power Automate flows. The first one is cloud flows, which will be our topic of focus for most of our session today. Desktop flows are RPA-based tool for building automations and bots that can mimic a person's actions within your desktop or your browser. And then we have business process flows as well. Those are for building your Dataverse records business process that go from one stage to the other and integrates very well with Dataverse again. Power Automate is not just by itself. As I've said, all of these tools will work very well with each other, and you can enhance your flows with AI Builder and more recently Process Advisor as well. And how to access Power Automate. There's those 5 tools listed there. Our web browsers will be our primary tools for development. You can also download Power Automate for desktop if you're building the RPA flows. And then you can download Power Automate on your mobile as well. And you can build flows on your phone, access approvals and such from your phone as well. And the last one is in Teams. You can build flows directly from your Teams client as well. Next slide, please, Bruno. So since we're going to talk a lot about cloud flows today, just a very brief overview of a cloud flow. You have a trigger for the cloud flow to start executing everything within it. And then you have actions which are defined by the connectors you're going to use within your flow. Within your triggers, there's 3 types of triggers: automated, instant, and scheduled. Automated is something that your flow triggers when something happens somewhere. So a record created in Dataverse, a record created in SQL, something updated in SharePoint list, whatever that is. So those are the automated triggers. Instant or button click. So either you click a button for Power Automate or you click a button in Power Apps. Either way, you can trigger a flow. And scheduled, as the name suggests, you schedule a flow to run once a day, once a week, twice a month, whatever your schedule is. So the trigger determines when the flow starts, and then the actions follow within the cloud flow. We're also going to talk about connectors throughout the session, so just a brief overview. Again, as I said, these are pre-built system integrations. There's about 950 or something connectors available today. This initially started off with Microsoft building a few of these connectors, and then all the independent publishers started to contribute, and they go through the vetting process from Microsoft, but now they're all published. Yep, Bruno. Oh, you're on mute. Bruno, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. So yes, as of today, that was happening on Monday. We don't have an official connector for OpenAI. We have the chance to access in beta preview OpenAI services from AI Builder. This is going to be shown in next sessions, but we're going to show you how we can do this, or otherwise you can use, I think it's Robin, connectors that are available right now. So this is what we are going to have. And yes, sorry for the mute. I'm still mute.
No, you're good.
Oh, sorry about that. Hey, that's happened on Monday. So sorry, Srovani, go back there, but I was thinking that it was important to show. We're going to show later how you can connect and use OpenAI models in Power Automate.
Absolutely. So we have the standard and premium connectors based on the license requirement, and the custom connectors are anything that you need to build on top of these 900 or so connectors that are available. But yeah, let's get into today's topic. Bruno, I'll pass it over to you to speak about OpenAI.
Okay, and now I unmute myself. Sorry about that. That's what happened. Hey, super quick. So I am not going to talk about ChatGPT. And literally, I think it was 5 days ago that ChatGPT was 100 days old. So it's been around for a long time, but not, it's really three months and a half or something like this. An amazing technology. And behind this technology, we have OpenAI. And we are super lucky because we have a great partnership with them. We are doing a lot of amazing stuff with them. And we basically have access. And this week is going to be also super important because there are going to be big announcements. But we have access to their models, the GPT models, the Codex models to work with code, and also the DALL-E models to work with images. And we can use those. So you can use those models. So the idea is that If we want to work with languages in the OpenAI world, we have the GPT-3 3.5 models, which is basically the one that you know and probably use in ChatGPT. Write a tagline for do this, ask about this, ask about that. A lot of stuff that we can do there. And again, I want to show you this one later up and running in Power Automate. Not going to spend a lot of time here. Then we have another model, which is the Codex model, which was trained mostly to do programming stuff. So here is that if you have this table with this structure, this is how you can create a query to do A, B's, or C's, or hey, analyze these codes and explain me to these codes. The second kind of family of model to work with code. And then the third one, which is DALI, basically, and I'm going to show you a demo right now that, hey, you have a model that can generate images. So a white Siamese cat, a puppy playing soccer on the moon or something like this. This is kind of the idea. And I see a couple of questions important here. To open the AI connector, we need the premium license. Yes, right now, yes. I think the Robin is premium, and the one that I am going to show you today is also use HTTP, which is premium, but you can also do this in different ways. But the idea is that, hey, let's take a look of what we can do. So that says, once we show this, remember 3 types of models, there are several ways that we can use this AI. And we want to show you 2. Today, the idea is to show you 2 big ways. 10 initial minutes was to set up the context, and now one way is that we are adding all of these AI features into our tools. If you are using the latest Office versions, you probably seen that PowerPoint, Outlook, Word, and Excel have crazy stuff inside. They all use these generative models for helping us. But we also have this in Power Automate. We also have this embedded in some of these places. And it's all came back, if you want to read more, because we have this partnership with them, with OpenAI and Microsoft, so we can customize and adapt and extend those models to basically focus on specific domains. One of those domains is Power Automate. So, Giovanni, I am going to share your screen, and if you can tell about these 4 or 5 scenarios that we have prepared, that will be amazing.
Yeah, of course.
You are online.
All right. So OpenAI is, of course, very exciting, the hot topic of current social media. So, and thanks for the intro, Bruno. That gives a perfect segue into what is Power Platform doing with OpenAI, right? This has not been new for Power Platform. We have been seeing a lot of these features being integrated into Power Platform since 2021 almost. But Power Apps will be covered next week. Today we'll talk about all the features that are in Power Automate. So I'll go to the first one, which is describe it to design it, as simple as that. This one is a natural language conversion tool. So you type in a sentence to build your flow, and you can simply build your flow with just 3 simple steps. This model is based on Codex. So this basically converts your natural language sentence into a fully built flow. There's only a few connectors available at the moment with this feature, and it's also available in the US region. So if you do have Power Platform tenant set up and you have an environment in the US, you will be able to play with this preview feature, but it is going to come to all regions within the next few weeks, I would say. So I'll show a quick demo of what this looks like. I do have a environment set up in the US, so I'm able to access that feature. So it will look something like this. As soon as you go to your home page in Power Automate, you have a lot of learning resources, etc. But when you go to create a new Power Automate flow, that's where you'll see all the different options that we talked about. And this is the one that you will select to describe a new flow. So you'll see that there's a few connectors here. Those are the only ones available for this feature currently, but they will add more connectors here very soon. So here you would first describe what your flow is going to be. So let's say when a new item is created in SharePoint. SharePoint is one of the available connectors here. So you'll start to see there's already suggestions coming up as you type. So I'm just going to pick the first one here. When a new item is created in SharePoint, send my manager an email. Pretty simple. Of course, this doesn't take much to build in your flow, but it's saving you a few minutes instead of going and adding each of these triggers and actions within your flow. It gives you a preview of what it's going to build. So your trigger is when an item is created in SharePoint. And then in your actions, you're going to get your profile from Office 365 users, then get your manager based on your profile, and finally send an email. So if I click next, it's going to ask which connection references I'm going to use. And then just a final step, you can go ahead and create your flow, but you can also select just a site, the SharePoint site, and a list. I'm just going to pick a test one. And the subject of an email is a new record is created. And when you click on Create Flow, it's done. Just a second or two, but all the actions that were previously shown will already be here. So all I did was type in a sentence that I want to build a flow. When a SharePoint item is created, I want to send my manager an email. And it's all done. You can see that all the fields are filled out as well. So the send an email step also has my manager's email, the subject that we typed in, and the body is also pre-filled with the new item is created in SharePoint. So pretty straightforward and very efficient in terms of saving developers time. So that's the first feature I wanted to talk about. And then there's a few more. So the next one is format data by examples. This one is interesting as well. This is kind of there in Power Apps as well, but I'll focus on Power Automate today. This is based on Microsoft's PROS framework. If you haven't heard of that before, it's the program synthesis using examples. So it's basically learning all the inputs of different types of languages in programming, and it suggests based on what you need as an example. So just a quick demo of this one as well. So if we look at the same flow we have in here, I'm going to say that in the subject, I would say a new request is created. And I want to put my manager's name here, but just the initials, for example. So to do that, if you haven't seen this before, from your previous steps, you can select dynamic content that's already populated here. So from my Get Manager step, I can already pick the display name, and it would automatically say a new requested is created to, and my manager's name right here. But I want to modify this a little bit, so I'm going to use expressions. So typically expressions, there's plenty of formulas here. If you click on see more, you'll see a lot of string functions. There's a lot of collection-based, logical, conversion, math functions. This is also very useful. Date and time, if you want to format date and time in certain ways, and so on. So expressions are very useful here. And one other thing I want to show real quick is if I want to say, let's say, split a text, it's going to show me the dynamic content. So I can pick dynamic content from here. And as I'm building the expression, it's going to show me what I need next. So there's telesense built into these expressions as well. But today I want to show you something that's even further helpful in building these expressions. That's format data by examples. So when you click this, let's say I want to pick display name for get my manager step. And what I want to do here is, if this is my name, I want the desired output to be just the first letters of my first and last name. So I'm going to give another example here. Bruno, I'm going to use your name. So for Bruno's name, we want the return to be just B from first name and C from last name. So just a couple of examples. And if I click on Get Expression, it's going to give me the fully built expression right here. And to test this expression, I can just put in another name here, test it out, and that's exactly what I wanted from this expression. And if you see the expression here, it's doing concatenation of the first letter, which it got from slicing the first string, and the second letter, which it gets from a substring by looking at the space and then getting the next letter right after. So that's the expression that this feature had built out. So if I simply click on apply, it's going to put that expression right where I needed it. So very simple. If you're not familiar with expressions, this is a very helpful tool.
One question,
Yep.
because I think that we talked about this yesterday. Sorry, Sravani, to interrupt you, but we have Ali Reza. I'm sorry, I'm completely sure that I'm saying your name very, very bad. But he mentioned that he can't see the option to create the describe in the Power Automate when he creates a new flow. And I think that you mentioned yesterday that this is a preview feature and it's not available everywhere, something like this.
Right. Yeah, currently it's available in the US region. So if you stand up a new environment and select your geolocation as the US, then you'll be able to access that feature in that environment. It's just not available in all regions yet.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I see the question. Try to connect the dots. So yes, go
Yep,
on. We have two more
perfect.
or three.
All
I remember.
right. So the next feature I wanted to show is adding intelligence to your business. This is basically a lot of pre-built AI models that are readily available for you to pick from and build your apps and flows right away. So I'm going to start a new flow. And if you see the AI Builder section here, and if you click on Explore, you'll see a lot of pre-built models. Again, you can use your own model as well if you have built an AI Builder. But once this loads, it'll show quite a few options to pick from. Um, and these are already built out. And if I pick one, for example, this one detects positive or negative or neutral statements in text. So if I can test this out, I'll say it was good, and that's a positive 100%. If I say it was okay, it's going to say it's still positive, but not 100%. And if I test with it was bad, it should give a negative sentiment of 100%. So I like this model. And if I want to use this in a flow, I can go straight from here. And it's going to give me a few suggestions on the pre-available or available templates. So for this one, I'm going to say send a notification with the sentiment of my manager's email. So basically, every time my manager emails me, I just want to make sure if it's a positive, negative, or a neutral email. So I'm going to hit continue, and then everything's in place. It should build out the whole flow by itself. So every time a new email comes to my inbox, it's going to get my profile. Based on that, it gets my manager, and it checks if the email is from my manager, and then converts the HTML from the email to text. And this is where all the magic happens, right? It analyzes the sentiment of the email, and then it sends me a push notification based on what my manager said and the overall sentiment for it. So very easy again. just with 2 simple steps, I had a whole flow built out, and using a pre-available AI model in there. So that was the third feature. And the last one I wanted to show was the OpenAI connector. Bruno, I know that you have an example and you'll show this in detail, but just a quick overview of what this connector is. It's created by Robin, as Bruno had mentioned, and it's basically built on top of the OpenAI API that's available. And just to see this in action, right? If I click on New Step, and I can search for OpenAI. Again, as I said, this is an independent publisher type of connector. It is premium, so you do need a premium license to be able to use this in your flow. And there's currently 2 actions available. One is GPT-3 that completes your prompt, and the second one is creating an image. And Bruno has an example to show what this looks like. But essentially, when you have this action, it's sending an API call from your flow. And one last thing I wanted to show within flows is every time you have a question about what this action is, or you need more documentation, there's always the help button here. And there's documentation links available right from your interface. And a very less used feature, but you can also enable this chatbot and ask the chatbot some questions if you do need some help with documentation. So that's all about Power Automate and its integration with OpenAI. And the last thing I want to say here is I know a lot of us are using ChatGPT. It's become my best friend, to be honest. If anything I need to know, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT these days. So for your Power Automate flows, if you want to know, let's say, what is Power Automate? I've used this a lot myself, just because I don't have to go through several blogs or articles or learn documents to learn about what Power Automate is. And let's say, since now it's in the context of Power Automate, I'm going to, let's try if it can tell me what this expression is. So we're already creating the context of Power Automate. So I'm going to ask, what is this expression? And ChatGPT already knows that we are asking about Power Automate. So it's going to give me a detailed explanation of what this expression is currently doing. So there's 3 or 4 main parts to this expression, and it's individually explaining what I need to understand what's going on in this expression. Let's say if you want to modify this expression, um, you can do so as well. And if you want to say, what is the expression to get the output in lowercase, it's going to build out the expression again based on what I need here. So again, expressions are easy to learn, but if you don't know expressions, it's again, use ChatGPT. It's available to everyone. So it spits out the formula or expression that I need to create in order to get my outputs in the desired format. So I can simply copy this code and go over to my Power Automate and simply use from there. I've also used this for generating comments. What is a comment? I can use for this expression. I mean, commenting is a very useful feature for any development, whether it's low code or pro code. So if I'm feeling too lazy and I need to put in a comment there, you can ask ChatGPT to do so. So a lot of uses there. Again, if you're just starting off with Power Automate, or even if you're fluent in Power Automate and you just need to build a quick expression, use ChatGPT. It's available for everyone to use. Bruno, have you used ChatGPT for any of these features?
Yes, a lot. Really, really a lot. I use Indeed a lot. And hey, before we move on, I have a couple of questions that I want to tackle.
Yeah.
Let me show my screen. And let me go for a couple here. So first one, question on performance from Ed. The example show were based on the small individual use case. If we move from small case to production application, hey, as Srovani mentioned before, this is all available also in Logic Apps. So, and Logic Apps is a service on Azure, and that's enterprise service. That is super scalable scenario. So you can run this on a small scale. I'm going to quote small scale to big scale, and it should run. It should be able to run there. The second one is that I want to tackle is here. Michael asked about, should we wait for the Azure OpenAI services instead of using the ChatGPT API directly? That's a super good question. And I will say, I will use Azure whenever I want, whenever I can. Sorry, because last week OpenAI presented the ChatGPT API. I don't remember the details, but I think on rough numbers, I might get this wrong, but I think it was for 1,000 tokens there, you pay 0.002 cents of dollar or something like this. And we have the same price for the same model from the same API on Azure. And on Azure, you have, well, everything that we already know and like about Azure. We have security, regions, a full connected set of other services. So I'm guessing that if we can use this, we can do more. If I have to choose and I have the possibility, I will use Azure. That said, the reasons are not all of the reasons are available. There are, as usual in Azure, we are getting the services in different regions. At the end, we are going to probably have this in all available regions. There's a full story there, but the price is the same. So if I have to choose between those, I will go for OpenAI. I'm sorry, for OpenAI services in Azure.
If I can add to that, Bruno,
Yes, please.
this Power Platform is all built on Azure and Dynamics behind the scenes. Essentially, Power Automate is an extension of Logic Apps. So based on your architecture, that's where you will consider scalability, you want, availability, and so on. So if you have enterprise-wide automation that's highly scalable, very complex, based on its features, you have to make the decision to go with either Logic Apps or Power Automate. Power Automate is available for everyone, as in business developers to pro developers. So it's built, all these AI features are coming in to assist the business developers first, and then everyone else as well. So.
Perfect. Hey, and we have the thumbs up from Michael, so I think we are fine. So how we put it all together also, if we want to create something for ourselves, if we want to create a solution. Right now, we've seen that we have these models, this crazy model from OpenAI, they are amazing. We have a lot of these features available as part of the tool, but what we can do besides roving the OpenAI connectors if we want to add this. So I just created right now I created a small flow. Where is my Summit? There it is. So I have here the example that if I ask for a cute puppy playing soccer in the moon, I will have this image. A couple of you asked me, someone asked about professional working together to develop new solution, OpenAI. Hey, I like this one. This is all generated literally right now, 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. Someone also asked, and I like this one also, a multicultural team doing pair programming with Power Automate. I like this one. What I don't like about this one is that blue screen remembers me Windows blue screen, so I will change probably that. But hey, we are doing this. And how we are running this, how we are using this? Two ways. First of all, we are using OpenAI APIs. And as I say, I'm going to go to Azure later. Bear with me a couple of moments here. There is a full set of information that we can use. If you go to platform.openai.com, you can see the full documentations. And you also have here the scenarios that we can do. We can chat, do text completion, do embedding, speak to text, which is right now, image generation, right now, code completion. Everything, all of these are in beta, but we have all of this access, all of these features. And the way that it works is that we have endpoints. We have a set of endpoints, basically HTTP bindings, URLs, that we can use to access this feature. So in example, if I want to see a list of models that are available to use right now, I can access this URL, api.openai.com/b1/model. I can use one key that I can get. By the way, you can test OpenAI for free. As far as I remember, you have here 3 months and $18 to use on those 3 months. So they can basically test this. And hey, once you have this and you make your call, you are going to have, oh, I don't have a response. I will have something like this. I will have a response, which is basically a text using a JSON format that I can understand. So that demo that I have there is basically this one. When I am going to use a tool that I have here for demos, which is basically allows me to make these calls. I'm going to do openai.com/b1/model. I'm going to call this. I am going to basically ask for the list of models. And here on the right, you can see that I will have a super huge text with all of the available models that we have here. And by the way, the whole models is for a different conversation where we can do plenty of other things. But hey, I can even use a model here where I am going to use the completions for DaVinci. DaVinci is kind of the GPT model. And I am going to say, suggest me a name for a brown kitten. So I have a kitten. I want to do this. I'm going to send the request. And hey, I suggest this. I ask this, and I have access here. Okay, so I can name my kitten Cocoa. I'm sorry. Yes, Cocoa, my kitten. I can do more here. This is basically the stuff that we are using right now in ChatGPT. The main difference here with ChatGPT is that if we go back to the documentation, if we want to use the chat completion here, for ChatGPT, we need to use, I can't remember the name of the model, it's somewhere here in documentation, I have it here, it's GP3.5 Turbo. So this is a new model that was released last week that allows us to do these kind of things. But hey, if I use this, I am basically hitting an API that is the same that Shravani just did in the ChatGPT web, where we type this. So the idea here is that I can make a call, I can pause this call, and I can get results and process these results. So to generate images, in example, I have this flow. Oh, I have one generated here. I have the flow. Let me turn this off, where I have the following steps. Every time that a new email arrives to a specific specific email address, I am going to convert, oh, sorry, not this one. I am going to convert the body of the email from HTML to text because I only want to text. Then I am going to call one of these APIs. And then because I have some responses there, I'm going to parse the JSON from the responses. And I am going to get the results, and I am going to show the results here. So this is for generating an image. Let's take a look at one of the runs here that we have. So this one, the first one, the cute, the puppy. So this one is the first one. Basically, I get an email, and in the inbox, I have a lot of stuff here. I don't care about this. And in the text, I have, as I mentioned, I have a full set of content here with HTML. It's too big for me, but I have this amazing action that I can use to convert this to text. And the text that I need is a cute puppy playing soccer in the moon, high quality cartoon. So I am going to call here one of these endpoints. I know the endpoints, I read the documentation, so I know where to call I know this is my URL. I know that this is the JSON that I need to do. So I use this flow to do this. I change my prompt to basically put here a cute puppy, yada, yada, yada. And then I start to process the response. So here I have a big response here with a lot of data. I process this. I need to do this in 2 steps because it has a collection inside. So I make this in 2 steps. By the way, I'm going to share all of these that are available in the LM documentations. And then this is the output that I have. I have basically in a blob image in one of the Azure blob repositories. And then I will send an email back to the direction using this. So with this, I can do this. I can send a new email. I'm going to turn this off. I can send a new email. And when I have the email, I am going to show this. And this is one part of the story. Basically, using this using these steps, I can generate images. I can change this if I want. If I want to avoid these 3 steps. By the way, HTTP is a premium connector, but I can go here and say, hey, I want to add an action. And as Ravani mentioned, I will say, I want to use OpenAI. I have here my access to Robin's actions, and I have here a GPT-3 to complete my prompt or a generate image. But if I want to do more, if I want to use other features, like an example, ChatGPT, I can start to use my own models. So let me show you an example. I don't want to change this. By the way, if someone share in the comments that this makes sense or not, that will be great to move forward. So I really like here one of the templates that we have in the flows, which is this one.
Bruno,
Starts an approval when a file is added to SharePoint. So this is kind of a standard one that basically every time that we have a new file in a folder in SharePoint, let me choose here a couple of configuration stuff. So documents, folder to monitor here, share documents and to be reviewed. So every time, and let's send this to Alex. Every time that someone adds a new document there in that folder in SharePoint, let's take a look at the flow. This flow is going to do a couple of things. It's very similar to the one that Ravani just mentioned. It's going to get my info, my organizational info, get my manager, get my profile, create an approval, and send this approval to this person, not my manager, sorry, to Alex. I am working with Adele right now, and I have to Alex. But this is the approval info that Alex is going to have. He's going to get an email, and he's going to have an approval action where he's going to see that, hey, review this new SharePoint file, read the name of the file, and then it's going to be added to this folder, the person who created this and the date who created this with a link to do it. So this is kind of nice. This is kind of good, but still Alex, who needs to review and approve this, needs to go open the document, download the document, and say yes or no. I was thinking, okay, maybe we can do a couple of stuff here. Maybe I can add some info here. Maybe I can change this flow to when I get the document, I can use one of the scenarios that are basically that I can use the ChatGPT APIs is to summarize. I can send the document to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going to analyze the document and is going to give me back the document summarized. So let me show you how this is done in another scenario. So this is the good one. So a couple of things also to talk here. This is literally the same element, the same approval flow, but you will see here that they have tons of other steps here. Not tons, 10 maybe, kind of like something like this with new steps. So first, I am going to use one of the out-of-the-box AI action that we have. Ravani just mentioned this. I have a super cool one that I can do a recognized text from a PDF or an image. So it's basically doing kind of an OCR or read a PDF to get the text. Then I have a variable here. And because this recognized text is giving me as a result a collection of lines, I am going to do a for each. I am going to iterate to this collection. I am going to add all of the line in this variable here. So I have a single variable with all of the content. Then I am going to call the ChatGPT API, the GPT 3.5 Turbo model that we have here. And there is a super cool thing that we can do when we are calling this API. I can define and I can ask this API to basically use a role. So I can say, hey, ChatGPT model, act like, I don't know, IT help desk, or act like the manager reviewing documents, or something like this. And then I'm going to give you the prompt. I'm going to basically say, summarize this document. In order to do this is what you already know. I am going to call the HTTP endpoint, and I'm going to parse the result. And the main difference here is that this is what I am using. I am making an HTTP call, a post. This is the URL, and my main JSON for request is going to have, hey, use this model GPT 3.5 Turbo, and then I have a prompt role and I have a content role. And hey, that's it. With this, I am going to create an approval, but in the approval, I am going to show all of the info that we know, and I'm going to show a summary here, which was the one that came from the call from the HTTP to the ChatGPT API. And with this, the flow keeps moving. So with this in mind, let's give this a try. So I have the flow up and running here. It's enabled. I am not going to change anything. It's enabled. Yes. So let me go back here to SharePoint. Retail. Yes, this is the one that I want to use. Documents. And here in documents, I should have my folder to be reviewed. I have several documents here. Let me delete all of them so we don't have any problems, and let me upload one of the documents. So I am going to upload, I don't know, this document, product marketing info, OpenAI, yes. So this is the document that I'm going to upload. Basically have some marketing information, not very big, 2 pages. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. So let me do this. Let me drag and drop this one to here. So I am going to drag the document there. It's going to take some time. Now it's available. But let me show you also something super interesting. I have another sample document here, which is a PDF that say, hey, by the way, this is all sample information that we have. Nothing here is real, but I basically am asking to create a permission document to allow the couple of people to use this credit card. This credit card has a lot of info here. And I have a credit card, a Visa, a MasterCard, and a bank number. Hey, there is a lot of sensitive info here. I am going to also upload this document. Let's upload this. Go back, upload the 2 documents. Right now, if I go back to my flow and I refresh the runs, I may have one of these. Yes, 41 seconds ago, I have one of the documents already processed. So I will take a look here, everything that is working here, and let's take a look at the prompt. So the prompt right now said that I am going to act as a user, reading a document, replying using professional style. And the prompt user is summarize the content with the following text. And I already did the steps that read all of the info. I have here all of the information that I get from the PDF. So with this, Alex, let me open Alex profile. This is Alex. Alex is a super cool person. Oh, why is not logging to Outlook? Alex, come on. I hope I don't need to log again with Alex.
Loading, Bruno.
Yes.
If I might add, the HTTP step, like you mentioned, it's a premium connector. But if you're looking at reusability across multiple flows, multiple apps, you can build a custom connector as well, because essentially custom connectors are based on REST API. So you provide the URL, the authentication method, you provide some test payloads and returns, and your custom connector would then be available for you to use across multiple flows and apps. So if you want to skip the step of making that HTTP call and then parsing, feel free to explore custom connectors as well.
Thanks. And hey, this is what's happening with live demos. Somehow Alex's profile was disconnected, but here we are, no problem. Let me go back to Power Automate and also open my email, because Alex should get here a couple of emails asking him to approve this flow. Somewhere here in Power Automate, once it's loaded, I will go to approvals and I will see that I have a couple of approvals to be done. So this is the one for today. And if I open this file, I will see this. I will see that Alex has a new document to approve. This is the location. This is who created the document. This is the time zone. And this is the summary, which is kind of fine. I mean, the text outline, the progress, several projects. This is the outline of the document. If I take a look at the other one, take a look at this. I have here, again, the location, the date, the time, but I have a couple of names here, which, okay, maybe not sensitive information, but I have a bank account number. I don't want this. Literally, this is something that I don't want to, when I am asking ChatGPT API, the GPT 3.5 Turbo to summarize this, I really don't want this API to do this. So what I can do is I can go to the flow, I can go to the definition of the role user that I have here, where, remember, act as a user reading a document and replying with professional style, and I can change a little this one here, for an example, saying this. No, I am not going to change it here. I am going to change it here. Do not include, as you can see here, I already add that it should avoid sensitive information like credit card numbers or phone numbers in the summary. Let's do this. Numbers / bank account numbers or phone numbers in the summary. I will save this. So right now I am asking, when I am using this prompt, to basically use this new prompt user, and I'm going to go to test with the last one that was run 3 seconds ago, and 2 minutes ago, I'm sorry, and I'm going to run this again. After a couple of minutes, this takes some time, I should get a similar summary for that document, but this will not include the bank summary. And why this is important? If you are like me and you need to write kind of a filter to avoid telephone numbers, emails, person names, a credit card, or these kind of things, it's hard. That's a hard programming process. Right now, I am literally describing using natural language to avoid this, to not include bank account numbers. If everything works fine, that I hope it works, I should get a new one here. I should get a new response here. Let's refresh this. Again, for the Contoso purchasings, and this one should not, okay, there it is, the new one, and this one should not include the bank number. I am using the API and I'm using natural language to basically ask the API to avoid this information. And by the way, if I said to the same prompt, summarize this document and include credit card numbers, bank accounts, and these kind of things, at the moment that the API read this and understand this, is going to include this in the summary. But what I really like and what is important is that I am using natural language to basically manage the behavior of this. And oh, yes, I like this one. So Big Pigs mentioned that I make a mistake. I make a mistake, which is really, that's me, that's for sure. And I didn't type, no, this one, no. Oh, yes. Hey, that's cool. It's even smarter than I think. I type whatever, and it was smart enough to not do this. And by the way, if I edit this and I remove all of this, remove the bank numbers and everything else, I save and run this again, the summary, last time I tested, it basically includes everything. So super important to have it, and thanks thanks Big Pigs for sharing this. So I'm going to test this again while I show something else. So this is kind of cool, this is kind of nice, but then we run, someone may have the question about, yes, this is great, but I am sending sensitive information to a service which is not managed, or it's an OpenAI service, and that's super valid and that's okay. But the idea is that if you want, you can use these services in Azure. So you can create a new resource, a new OpenAI resource in Azure in order to access this. As far as I remember, we are still in preview, so you need to apply. It's going to be, you need to describe your scenarios, and then you are going to need to wait until you are good approved. But when you have access here, you can start to create your models. So you can start to create your deployments. So you can start to create a new deployment. And basically the deployment is Reactor demo. And then this is the list of available models that you can use. So you can create your own version here. And someone asked, I can't remember the name, someone asked before if I can use and do use OpenAI and apply my own filters, or can I use this to create my own scenario? Yes. In Azure is the place that you can basically go and do your own stuff. I can create a new one for code here. So this is going to be OpenAI demo code. So when I create this, I will have a new model in my list. It will take a couple of seconds or minutes. There it is, that they can use to work with code. And then, by the way, we have here a super cool, where is this? A super cool OpenAI Studio that allows us to play around, to do a lot of stuff here inside of your own domain. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. Just share that if you want to do more advanced scenario, this is kind of the place to go, where you can customize and do other things. That doesn't mean that you can't use the OpenAI services, OpenAI API services. You can use both, but Azure will give you the same, everything that we know about Azure. If someone is interested, we can do a session doing just Azure. I will be happy, super happy to join forces again with Rovani and bring also a couple of OpenAI experts and talk a little more about Azure, because here in the ChatGPT playground, or this is here a chat using the ChatGPT API literally in your subscription, literally in your Azure domain. So this is completely different. But think about this. If you need to do business stuff, if you need to take care about all of these other layers of security data, and you already have Azure, this is a place to go. Going back here, because we also have one more minute, I will literally invite everyone. We went super fast. I will literally invite everyone to join the next sessions. We have more to go. Sorry, I have 2 more demos, but we didn't have time. But next week, we are going to do something similar, but with Power Apps, how you can do more with Power Apps. And March 27th, we're going to talk about Power Virtual Agent. There are a lot of resources that you can get. Follow us on Twitter, go for aki.ms/reactor to also know more about these events. And we are on time. We are literally here. Thanks a lot for everyone to have here. Thanks for Vani. This was amazing. See you on next one. See you next week with Power Apps. Gomolimo is going to be there. Rovani is going to be there, I think. It's going to be also a fun one. So thank you very much. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone.